to help Palestine. We can all use our voices. Even if you're working at a cash register, you can talk to the people you're working with. Use your voices in order to speak for the voiceless. No matter where you are, use your ability. Even if you don't have a voice, go on Instagram, go on social media, do what you can to speak for Palestine.
End the siege on Gaza! 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 All right, let's keep the momentum going. Next up, we have a recipient of numerous awards for teaching in Illinois and fighting on the front line in the schools against one-sided curriculum that erases Palestinians. Please welcome Dr. Sausan Jabir. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Welcome, Dr. Sausan.
Good afternoon, Chicago! Hold up, we're gonna give the doctors a chance to get down. We didn't realize we had this many doctors in our community. It is a hard time to be a Palestinian American today. I am Palestinian and I'm American. And those two parts of myself are having a hard time reconciling. I'm a mother, and I'm feeling the pain of every Palestinian mother that has to bury a child, watch her children in anguish, and not know how to give them the relief. Every mother that has no idea where her children are. We cannot look at Gaza today in isolation. If we actualize the principles of justice that we pride ourselves on, the principles that we like to believe this country was founded on, we probably wouldn't be here today. So how can we change the direction of things with the privilege we have being Palestinian Americans? Because I have to keep reminding myself that I have rights here, even though that sometimes doesn't apply. So I remember that I'm a teacher and I'm an activist. I come from a long line of freedom fighters. I am a freedom fighter. And I think with my locus of control as an educator and a community citizen, we cannot afford to sit here in our feelings. We cannot afford to donate relief efforts until the next time this happens. We are in an apocalyptic moment of change, and we must act. 75 years! Enough is enough! Go to your schools and hold them accountable. Partner with them for that change. And if they don't, place pressure on them, forcing them to change. Schools have been complicit.
Yes, they have.
Schools continue to play active participants in replicating single stories and mantras that dehumanize and alienate to the point where so many Americans want to see us bleed. To the point where so many of our elected officials are not being held accountable for the harm they're causing our children domestically and abroad. In the last few weeks, Palestinian teacher leaders have met with organizations like NCSS and NCTE with over 50,000 teacher members, organizing statements and followed by action. We have been successfully working with them for the last 5 years and have had Palestinian advocacy sessions at their annual conferences and virtually. We have community members in key positions, in committees, in these organizations. We have a seat at the table. For upcoming conferences, Palestinian authors and teachers are featured sessions promoted by the organizations in both spaces. In addition, we have spoken at a collective of 75 educator conferences in the last year alone to over 100,000 teachers internationally. A second project we are working on, we have sent 400 educators We have 100 more going out this week alone, and those teachers are publicly advocating in their spaces and on social media. We are beginning our board of education campaign and visiting local school districts to ask them the tough questions that we should have been asking all along about the mandates required for inclusion and belonging and cultural responsiveness and how they're being implemented with regards to our children. Not only do these mandates impact Palestinian children, they impact how the community at large perceives our community and how they vote, and how we act and react to national and international events. We cannot ignore the failure of schools to integrate these narratives with fidelity, and how it has led to the murder of Wadia and thousands of Palestinian children in Gaza. These events are directly related. How does it impact our community? How does it impact communities when an administrator in the Chicagoland area tells a teacher that her Palestinian identity is offensive and asks her to tone it down? Or a teacher in a global studies class that specifically says to students in a class full of Palestinians that they deserve what is happening to them because they walk around naked. These things are happening in our classrooms across the country, and we are getting emails and video recordings asking for help. How do we help? 4 actionable items we are asking you to take on. This is our charge. Chicago is home to the largest Palestinian community in the country. If it doesn't happen here, it won't happen anywhere. Number 1, schools sending out letters explicitly condoning and supporting Israel. Hold them accountable. These racist statements contradict rules and laws that are supposed to protect our children. They need to be held accountable. They are violating local and federal mandates of responsiveness and inclusion by sending out those letters. Go to your board meetings and hold those schools accountable. We are seeing the deep impacts of those communities and the impact of those letters and those statements on the kids in those communities. Number 2, ask where Palestine sits in the curriculum. Who is teaching it, and what do they know and don't know? How is that working to craft societies and cause fissures and ruptures within our communities? We need to work with schools to revise those narratives and be more inclusive of those narratives equally and with fidelity. Number 3, we need to stop being reactive. We need to be proactive. We need a permanent seat at the table. Run for your local school boards. There are enough of us in the Chicagoland area, and if you don't see yourself serving, at least vote for running members in Chicago school boards. Sit on mandated parent advisory committees and mandated bilingual committees. Take a permanent seat at the table. We need to see more representation all the time, not just reacting to what's happening in the world. Ask critical questions. Hold them accountable. 4, report bullying. It is happening across the board, and we don't have enough proof to take it to a state level. I have been meeting and talking to state Board of Education members. We need to report the bullying so we have the data to prove that change needs to happen on a state level. Report it. Don't be afraid. These are your rights as an American. It is your obligation and your duty. Whether you have kids in public schools or not, schools are directly crafting the ethos of our communities. Reach out to AMP Chicago if you need help or support. We have a moral responsibility as tax-paying citizens to do this work because we have been here before. We must reject the rhetoric of terrorism and wordplay and the associations dissolving individual identities and conflating Gaza with events like 9/11 and ISIS, demonizing our children and dehumanizing them to the point where they are terrorists and deserve to die. We have seen this before. We have seen this before with Native Americans when they were called savages and massacred. We have seen this before with black men who were criminalized and victimized by police and jailed. We have seen this before when the Japanese were considered a threat and placed in internment camps. We have seen this before when Mexican children were considered illegal and placed in cages. We have seen this before, and we have faulted humanity for its silence. Yet here we are again, silent. So I cannot help but ask, that says that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice anywhere. Who is next, and what will it look like?
It's so hard to see the
This is a country that runs on fear. Every election since the inception of America has elevated a sense of fear that brings voters to the ballot box. The last 3 elections have focused on terror, elevating this rhetoric to the point where even this massacre is not new to Palestine. It's not new, but we're watching it in real time. So please take action. I will end with this final thought because I know I've gone over my time. But I always wonder if one of the police officers in the George Floyd moment sat in a classroom where these critical conversations was happening, how would it have changed his fate? If one of our politicians, if one of our presidents sat in a classroom where these things were happening, how would it have changed what was happening in Gaza now from our end? It would be so different. We need to impact our schools, and nobody else is gonna do that work for us. We need to be there. Thank you.
Move up a little bit. Our crowd is so incredibly large that we need to make some space. Hundreds of thousands, media. Hundreds of thousands. Well, the headline tomorrow is going to be 5 people standing support Palestine. Member of First United Church of Oak Park, both United Church of Christ and Presbyterian Church, USA, a resident of Oak Park, and a member of Chicago Faith Coalition. Please welcome Pauline Kaufman.
Hello, Chicago. The Chicago Faith Coalition on Middle East Policy is a coalition of several Christian denominations. Jewish Voice for Peace is with us, and American Muslims for Palestine. It was formed in 2008 after the second attacks on Gaza. They've happened now in 2002, 2008, 2014, 2021, 22, and now again this year for the 7th time, and it's worse than ever. Do we not learn? This is not the way to peace. We lament and condemn the killing of innocent men, women, and children. We call for all involved to stop the violence. We rejoice with the release of 2 captives this weekend, but we long for the release of all captives. We condemn the recent bombing of Al Ahli Hospital in Gaza and the death of so many. We call for a ceasefire now. The hospital is historic, supported by Baptists, Anglicans, Presbyterians, Episcopalians, and many other Christian groups. Let there be no mistake, there are Christian Palestinians in Gaza today. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs reported there have been over 3,785 deaths in Gaza alone, just in the past 2 weeks. Another 12,500 are injured. Over 1 million have been displaced, but are unable to leave Gaza and unwilling because they know the history. Once they leave their homes, they are not likely to be allowed to return. 7 UN human rights experts warn that the ongoing campaign against humanity in Gaza is genocide, and they warn the global community to sound the alarm. Do you hear it? We are sounding the alarm.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
and those UN experts, when will the Western powers that prevail today stop this colonial madness and work for a just peace? There can be no peace without justice. Please continue to call and write to elected officials and call for an immediate ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you so much. End the siege on Gaza now!
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 Netanyahu, you can't hide!
Netanyahu, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
We charge you with genocide!
Netanyahu, you can't hide!
Netanyahu, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
We charge you with genocide!
Netanyahu, you can't hide!
Netanyahu, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
We charge you with genocide!
Next up, we have board member of Jewish Voice for Peace Action, the largest Jewish anti-Zionist activist organization in the world. She has engaged in resistance delegations in the West Bank with the Center for Jewish Nonviolence and is on the steering committee of the International Jewish Collective for Justice in Palestine. Please welcome our ally, Leslie Williams.
End the siege on Gaza now!
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 So last Wednesday, I was privileged to be part of the largest Jewish protest in solidarity with Palestinians in United States history. 10,000 of us protested outside on the National Mall, and 400 Jewish Americans, including 24 rabbis, held a sit-in inside the Capitol Rotunda, chanting, "Not in our name," and "Ceasefire now." We sang, we yelled, and we made our voices heard. At least 300 of us were arrested, and we would gladly do it again. We know these past 2 weeks have been dark. We have seen death and destruction and atrocities committed against innocent people. But the good news is that people are beginning to wake up. We have 40,000 signatures in our petition to President Biden calling for a ceasefire. Thousands are marching for Palestinians all over the world for justice in Gaza. Yesterday, Joshua Paul, the director of Congressional and Public Affairs for the State Department, publicly resigned, saying that the Biden administration's blind support for one side was leading to policies that were short-sighted, destructive, unjust, and contradictory to the very values we publicly espouse. And for the first time ever, I heard a U.S. official say that Palestinians have rights, including the right to be safe in their homes. We at JVP have been in this struggle with Palestinians for decades. We are not afraid to support BDS. We are not afraid to say that Israel is committing human rights abuses and genocide in Gaza and the West Bank. We are not afraid to say that Palestinians have an absolute right to return. And we are not afraid of your drones. We are not afraid of your doxing. We are not afraid of your surveillance. We stand with Palestinians and we are not afraid. Wednesday was just one action, but we are not done. We will continue to tell Biden and Congress and the Anti-Defamation League's Jonathan Greenblatt that you cannot fund and support oppression and dispossession and the killing of families for 75 years and then claim to stand for human rights. Either you support freedom and democracy for everyone, or you do not. Either you believe in human rights for everyone, or you do not.
one simple truth, that Palestinians have the right to exist. And we will keep sitting in congressional offices. We will keep calling and marching and shouting and screaming until justice is done, until the bombs stop falling, until the water in Gaza runs clear and pure and free, until the light of justice and freedom burns bright, and until every Palestinian adult and family and child can sleep in peace and freedom.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Hundreds or thousands? Hundreds or thousands? I think it might be tens of thousands, actually. Just a reminder to the speakers, make sure to be loud in the mic because our crowd is so incredibly large that we want the people in the back to be able to hear. Palestinian activists based in Michigan, speaking on behalf of the Hamdan Coalition, please welcome Shireen Shakugani.
I would like to begin with, I can't believe we're still doing this shit. Our hearts continue to bleed as the world sits and watches absolute indiscriminate war crimes against Palestinians. But this is no surprise to us. Because what is happening in Palestine has been happening for over 75 years. In 1948, over 750,000 Palestinians were displaced. In 2023, over 1.1 million Palestinians in Gaza alone have been displaced. If you're 18 years old in Gaza today, your grandparents were expelled during the Nakba in 1948. Your parents were brutalized by the occupation forces in 1967, and you lived your entire life caged in what we know as an open-air prison. Now, Palestinians are being forced to live between concentration camps and extermination camps. What the world is watching is an ethnic cleansing against Palestinians, Muslims and Christians. We are hearing from doctors from Al-Halil Hospital stating that what they're seeing is so horrific that if cinema wanted to create a horrifying scene, they would never make a scene like this. The occupiers have blocked water, food, gas, shelter, electricity, medical supplies. The list goes on. What we are seeing is very clear. Collective punishment, a genocide backed by the United States, backed by our tax money. What continues to sicken me more are the puppets and mouthpieces that continue to spread the misinformation and propaganda that continues to get debunked from CNN all the way to the President of the United States. I can assure you all that these Zionists are losing their mind because for the first time, the public opinion is not swaying their way. They may have Hollywood, they may have the media, they may have the government, but they do not have the people. The world continues to see the truth unfold. Your deleted and updated tweets, your fabricated videos, your AI photos isn't fooling anybody. They want the Palestinians out, but we're not leaving. We're staying right where we're at, and we're fighting for our liberation, fighting for our freedom, fighting for our right to return home. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Give it up, free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Before we go to our last speaker, I want to just provide a little bit of context that has been omitted and if not intentionally dismissed by our mainstream news. That Gaza has been suffering, and as mentioned by prior speakers, way before October 7th. 75 years of ethnic cleansing, 75 years of statelessness, of powerlessness, of denial of our basic human dignity and self-determination, aided and abetted by our U.S. government with our tax money, $3.8 billion a year. 56 years of a brutal military occupation and 16 years of a brutal siege and blockade, creating the world's largest open-air prison with our tax money. Approximately half of the population in Gaza is under the age of 15. That means that approximately half the population were born into prison. And they've lived in prison since their birth. Biden was nowhere at that time. He said nothing. Our prior president said nothing throughout this entire brutal siege. And now we must bring an end to the siege. End the siege on Gaza. 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 Our final speaker, on behalf of the Coalition for Justice in Palestine, is a member and 12-year organizer with the U.S. Palestinian Community Network. Please welcome Nasreen Hassan.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Salam, everybody. My name is Nasreen. I'm a member of the United States Palestinian Community Network, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Chicago Coalition for Justice in Palestine. Forgive me for my anger, forgive me for my sadness, but our people are dying! We are here today to show our support for the people of Gaza. We are here to show people we are united for the Palestinian cause. We are here to let Chicago know, the Midwest know, this country know, and the world know we're here for Gaza. We will not forgive this. This world is witnessing collective punishment, destruction, displacement of human lives on a horrific scale in Gaza, an area with a civilian population of 2.2 million people, 7 in 10 of whom are already refugees. Our people see through the selective outrage. The violence didn't begin on October 7th. The root cause of this violence is Israel's 75-year regime of colonization, apartheid, and occupation. A system that affords any Jewish person in the world the privilege to settle automatically, receive citizenship, and enjoy superior rights to the indigenous Palestinian people is indefensible. Israel has not only breached international policy for weeks, but for generations. This racist system is enabled by the U.S. government. It is enabled through our tax dollars. Biden wants to increase the spending package to $10.6 billion on genocide, rather than aiding the homeless in Hawaii who suffered the fires, rather than aiding school funds, and rather than aiding the houseless here. It should be no surprise. It should be no surprise that the U.S. and the West feed on anti-Arab racism and Islamophobia to drive their agenda to push for the bombing and destruction of Gaza. It is a collaboration to dehumanize and to encourage the non-stop genocide. And it should be no surprise that the U.S. supports Israel in this carnage, especially when law enforcement are sent to Israel to be military trained by occupation forces. In order for the U.S. to justify its wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Yemen, and other countries, its unequivocal support of Palestinian land, this and previous U.S. administrations had to put a local face on the enemy abroad, and that face is the Arab and Muslim face. So the Arab and Muslim communities here have been depicted as the enemies of the U.S. We are under constant surveillance in our mosques, our churches, our community centers. We have been subjected to unlawful searches and seizures. Informants are sent to our neighborhoods by the FBI. And law enforcement entraps our young people the same way they entrap young Black and Latino people for many decades. Our community members are intimidated by this repression and constant fear. But the United States does this to deter us from fighting for Palestine. It is disturbing that we have so-called progressive politicians who sign off on sending tax dollars to Israel, like Schakowsky, Durbin, Pritzker, and Duckworth. These politicians share misinformation and use racist rhetoric towards our communities. These sentiments have encouraged the 1,534 children deaths in Gaza, encouraged hostility towards our students in schools, and motivated the murder of Wadi al-Fayoum al-Yarhamah. Here in the diaspora, our people need to be the voice and adhere to the demands of the people in Gaza. Those demands are: stop the Israeli bombs of Gaza, stop the genocide of Gaza, sign on to Rashida Tlaib and Cory Bush's Bill 786, which demands to end the violence by Israel and Gaza and ending the violence in the West Bank. We demand an end to the siege. We ask, Gaza is the home and the people of Gaza's home. These people will not be made refugees for the second time, and we will not accept another Nakba. And finally, we demand end U.S. military aid to Israel. My message to the beautiful young people in our community is that don't be discouraged from speaking up for what's right. You all are doing an amazing job. To the elders, continue to share your experiences and family history. I know it's disgusting we live in a country where you get blacklisted for calling out genocide and demanding accountability from murderers. We must do it for people like Palestinian artist Hiba Zarhout al-Yarhamah, who was killed with her children and husband in an Israeli airstrike. She shared her artwork with the Palestinian Feminist Collective for their Feminist Futures calendars. And I'm going to read you her last email that she sent to us. In her email, she stated, I hope that there will be an art exhibition that highlights the suffering of Palestinian female artists in Gaza and the West Bank in the March of Women's Day. Let us be loud for our people in Gaza surviving and fighting. And let us be loud for our martyrs. So are you ready to march? Louder! You're in Chicago, the highest Muslim community. Are you ready to march? Are you ready to end the genocide in Gaza? Are you ready to shut down the streets of Chicago for your people? Say it with me so everyone can hear you and they can hear you from Gaza. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Biden, Biden, you can't hide!
Biden, Biden, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
We charge you with genocide!
Thank you!
All right, so before we continue chanting and begin our march, I would like to invite up to the stage Sheikh Hassan for a short dua for our martyr victims. Welcome. Assalamu alaikum. May peace and blessings be with all of us and be with our Palestinian children today and every day. I would like to thank those who are here with us. We're not here as Arab only or Palestinians only. We're not here as Muslims only. This is not the cause of Muslims only or Arab only. We have Jewish people with us, Christians with us, other faith with us. This is the cause of every free person in the world today. Free, free Palestine!
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 Today we are praying for justice and peace. For our children here in our backyard. For Wadi al-Fayoumi, the 6-year-old son of all of us, who was killed because of the irresponsible speech, hate speeches of the irresponsible leaders or so-called leaders in our community and society. We're here to pray for the victims of Gaza, for the 500 children who died after bombing the hospital a few days ago, for people who died after bombing the third oldest church in the world in Gaza a few days ago. We're here to pray for all of them, so one day they will have justice and peace. And allow me to say something in the language of the people of Gaza. Perhaps they can hear us today and understand us. أتظن أنك عندما أحرقتني ورقصتك الشيطان فوق رفاتي وتركتني للذاريات تذرني كحلا لعين الشمس في الفلوات، أتظن أنك قد طمست هويتي ومحوت تاريخي ومعتقداتي عبثا تحاول لا فناء لثائر، أنا كالقيامة ذات يوم آتي، أنا مثل عيسى عائد وبقوة من كل عاصفة ألم شتاتي، سأعود أقدم عاشق متمرد، سأعود أعظم الثورات، سأعود بالتوراة والإنجيل والقرآن والتسبيح والصلوات، سأعود بالأديان دينا واحدا خال من الأحقاد والنعرات، رجل من الأخدود ما من عودتي بد، أنا كل الزمان الآتي، أنا كل الزمان الآتي. End the occupation now! End the occupation now! End the occupation now! Free, free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Occupation is a crime! Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Ethnic cleansing is a crime! Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Occupation is a crime! Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Louder, Chicago! When Gaza is under attack, what do we do? When Gaza is under attack, what do we do? When Gaza is under attack, what do we do? When Gaza is under attack, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Media! Is this hundreds or is this thousands? Hundreds or thousands? Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
This is a vital message. The United States is not removed from this genocide. It is directly funding this genocide. Our tax dollars is going to funding the racist apartheid regime of Israel. The United States is complicit. The United States is supporting. The United States is funding the genocide of the Palestinian people.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
All right, let's keep this momentum going. We're gonna begin our march. Very simple. We just turn around and we begin walking. Okay? Let's try to keep it as orderly as possible. We are here, 1,000 strong. Let's begin right now. Right now, just turn around and we're gonna walk at a slow pace. Wait for the truck to get to the front. So don't begin the actual walk. Just turn around for now and just stay in your place, and you'll be guided accordingly. All right? Thank you.